CPAC 2021 with Zach Voorhees. Zach, gosh, it's been quite a while since we talked before. You know, you're known as the Google whistleblower. You're a Google whistleblower, obviously not, but often you're known as the Google whistleblower. What are you working on right now?
So I've been really busy over the last year, and there's been a number of developments that have happened. First off, there was, in October of 2020, a digital ethnic cleansing, or what they call as the purge, where YouTube went through and eliminated the big Trump-supporting video pages that existed on its platform. And it started on October 15th, and it pretty much went all the way to November 3rd, and then it's still kind of going on now, but it's at a slow burn in terms of kicking people off. But there was a huge purge on October 15th, and there was just so much anger. Everyone was like, what are we going to do about this? And so I launched a GoFundMe, punchgoogle.com was the URL that linked to it. And I raised $135,000 and sued YouTube over their deplatforming of all these Trump-supporting video pages. And that's still ongoing today. We were trying to get an emergency injunction so that those pages could be restored by the 3rd. The judge didn't even hear the evidence, and just shot it down. And so now we're appealing to the Ninth Circuit Court. And surprisingly, that's actually one of the most conservative circuit courts in the nation. And we hope that we're going to get a little bit better luck in there with our appeal, because it's Clarence Thomas made a statement saying that he welcomed a Section 230 challenge. And so we're structuring our lawsuit as to fit within that slot. And we're going to see what's going to happen over the course of these next few months.
Well, exactly. So I wanted to find out, what is the meat of this lawsuit? Like, why is Google not allowed to do what they did starting October 15th, as you described?
So even though they've got pretty onerous terms and services, they pretty much violated their own terms of service in how they got rid of these video pages. And so when we originally sued them, we just wanted to have a reinstatement. So I forget what the term is called, the lawyer speak for that, but basically we can get a judge to order them, hey, you didn't do it right, you got to give them back. Maybe YouTube would turn around and ban them again, we don't know. But our hope was to get those channels reinstated by November 3rd. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, obviously, and they're still banned today. But the meat of the matter is that Google has no sort of reason for for getting rid of these video sites, because of the fact that they are protected by Section 230. So what we're trying to prove is that this is malicious intent to satisfy a political agenda, and not a reasonable, filtering in order to protect them from some liability. They have the Section 230 liability shield. So in this case, Section 230 actually helps us, it doesn't hurt us.
Right, because they're basically not allowed to be a publisher. They're not supposed to be a publisher.
Right.
They're supposed to just be a platform.
Right, exactly.
So, and from what I understand, you actually started writing a book about your whole, experience and so forth, right?
Yep. The book is called Panopticon. It's around 300 pages. It's going to come out with Skyhorse Publishing. And we're pretty much in the final stages right now of the back and forth with the final drafts, selecting which pictures we want to include. Obviously, there's a lot of slides involved with my disclosure, so we're going to take the best slides that have been disclosed, include them in the book, and give a little bit more in depth of
so
background.
the slides you're talking about sort of material that when you blew the whistle, so to speak, that you came out with about Google, right?
Yes. So it's all the information that's already been publicized, but there's a big pile of documents that I released. And what I'm doing with the book is we're taking out the choice meat. We're putting it on there and describing what's happening, and going more in depth with a story about not just what I did, but how I did it. And I'm hoping that this can serve as sort of a scaffolding for other whistleblowers. If they see something evil with these big tech companies, can read this story and realize what I did, what worked, and what didn't, and hopefully do the same.
I think it was when we spoke, a while ago now. I can't even remember exactly, but this was early on when you were first sort of, disclosing some of this information. I learned about machine learning fairness. I don't like this term. It feels very Orwellian, perhaps.
Yes.
Is a good term, a way to describe it. But people just seem to assume today that this is just how things work. It's very interesting.
What do you mean, how things work?
Well, that this is a common practice, and that it's just generally known that this sort of thing occurs.
And what's really disheartening is the fact that censorship seems to be spreading from these different tech platforms. Amazon is announcing that they're going to start banning books. Right, so we're getting to an era where book banning is trying to be normalized, and the public is very intolerant towards that sort of thing. We hate it, and despite the outpouring of hate that we have towards censorship, they're censoring more. And what are the limits? I mean, even this event is called America Uncancelled, and we're trying to stop all of the censoring, and they keep on censoring, and so. We don't know what the limits are. We don't, I hope that a year from now I can come back and talk to you and say, yeah, that was really bad in 2020 and the early part of 2021, but then they pulled back. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to double down.
Well, and we should just to clarify, tell me briefly for the benefit of our audience, how does machine learning fairness work?
Right. So machine learning fairness is a AI intelligence system that they have applied towards social justice goals of the corporate culture of Google. And so the way that classifiers are trained, you take a bunch of annotated data. So let's say articles, you label some of them fake news, some of them not fake news. You run it through this neural net, and then it learns from the patterns which things constitute the triggering of the fake news classifier. And so once this neural net is trained, then you have a classifier. Classifier for fake news, classifier for hate speech, classifier for all these different things. It's a methodology of stamping out classifiers. And when those classifiers are for social justice, that's called machine learning fairness.
And I was just reading Douglas Murray's book, The Madness of Crowds, where he describes all sorts of fascinating scenarios where this machine learning fairness can be seen in action on Google that I hadn't even heard before. So it's definitely coming into the popular consciousness that this is very real. So how are we going to uncancel America, given this theme, right?
Well, right now there is disintegration of before we had a monolithic video platform, YouTube, right? Everyone's on there. The recommendation engine works on the platform because everyone's on the platform. But now with disintegration, what's happening is that you've got 4 major players. You've got YouTube at the top, and then Rumble, and then BitChute, and then Brighteon, in that order. And there's also DLive and some of the others. But those are the main 4. And what the public is missing right now is a way of combining the best videos from all these different platforms and recombining it in an aggregation service. And so I realized a while ago that aggregation beats censorship. We don't all need to be on the same platform. We just need a recommendation engine that crosses all these different platforms, pulls the videos of topical interest, and then puts them together on one single page. And after telling a bunch of people this and not seeing anything happen, I decided, since I'm a coder of a decade, that I just went and did the whole thing. And I've got a website. I don't want to say it right now in public because we're going to do a launch with the book. But this aggregation is the secret sauce for defeating censorship. And what's really going to be interesting is when this launches, what is big tech going to do? Are they going to start banning IP addresses? Are they going to start cutting us off at the domain name server level? And if they don't, then we've defeated censorship, and we'll be able to move forward again as a unified collective rather than being, shunned off the internet and not being able to regroup and reform.
Well, Zach Voorhees, it's such a pleasure to have you on again.
Thanks, Jan.
Google did not respond when we asked for comment.